Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be going over how to make house music in FL Studio 20. Now house is a very fun genre to make. I hope this video helps you out. Let's go ahead and get right into it. So starting things off, I'm going to load up Serum. We're just going to get a basic patch going so I can lay out chords. And that's always how I tend to start my tracks, and I'll go over how I do that in case you're not sure. Now the way I like to begin when I'm doing chords is get a bass line going, and this is something I do by ear. I hope this makes sense to you, but what I'll do is start with like any note, so we got an A here. And I just like to come up with how I'd follow that up in my head. I know that G would sound nice right after it, and I think we'll do a progression that goes down one more, and then back up to that G. So here's what we got so far. I'll just play it really quickly so you can hear it's like this. Right, you could tell like musically that sounds correct. That's kind of my thought process for that. And from here, we're going to go ahead and turn this into chords. So to start off with that, I'm going to bring it up one octave like so. Then I'm going to duplicate it. And we're going to make major chords out of this. So the way you do that is once you've duplicated it, you move up to 4. So it's at 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. And then duplicate again and go 5, 6, 7. So if you count the little gaps in between the notes, that might make a little more sense to you. But here we do have all major chords. So we're going to give that a quick play, and if anything sounds wrong, we're going to switch it over to a minor chord. Right, so I've noticed this chord actually sounds better if we make it minor, so now it's like this. Right, that's way better. But this chord progression right now is pretty basic. We're going to make some changes to see if we can make it a little better. So I just added a couple notes, and you see what I've done there. That sounds pretty nice now. We're going to do that with all the chords, so let's see. That's better. Okay, so now we've got a very nice progression. I quite like how full that sounds, and we're going to work on changing the sound now to get a decent tone for our intro. So I think I'm going to make something out of sine waves. We'll see what we can do with that. There we go. I quite like that tone. Now we could go ahead and put that on mixer. And from here, we're going to add some extra effects to make it sound a little better. So my thought process right now, these are just kind of effects that I know I have, and I kind of know what their sound is, and that's why I'm adding them here. And that's sort of something you just figure out as you keep making music. Like, I know I really like the tone of disperser on sounds like that, and we're going to use reverb. I've actually got a demo of Pro R right now. It's a plugin I want to buy next. I really like this reverb. It's very nice. And then I think after that, we're going to add a huge compressor. Do something like this. A little much. There we go. So now, after we've got our chords done, we have them sounding nice like this, we are ready to add a bass line. Just going to do a quick EQ job on here. Get rid of whatever's going on in the really low lows. I noticed that. And just cut some highs. I also think low mids could use a slight reduction. So the way I like to do a bass line, I like to make sure I do it at first anyway in the same pattern, so that way I could see my chord progression that I've just laid out, because I like to follow it in a way and make some slight deviations, so that way it's a little more interesting than, say, if I were to just do something like this. Like, this would sound correct, that is a bass line, but it's very boring. It's just the root note of all the chords. So you see, like... Right, we want to do something a lot more interesting than that, which is what we're going to do now. So in the Serum patch, I'm going to switch this over to a sine wave, and then I'm going to set it to sync window, and just turn it up a little bit. I do that because I quite like the tone of this, and it's something that's a little more audible on other systems, like phone speakers, compared to a sine wave. This is something really good for, like, a verse bass or something like that. You can see that tone, by the way, sounds like this. It's like... That's kind of the sound we got going here. I'm going to make sure I turn this on mono. And we are going to write that bass line, so let's do it. I think I'm actually going to switch this down an octave, just that way I'm writing in the region where the chords are overlapping. Right, perfect. So we're going to do some melody writing here for a bass line. Okay. All right, here's what we have now together. So now we're gonna put that in here, and we are ready to add some drums. So you notice they are still bunched together because I did write them in the same pattern. I like to separate my patterns when I'm working, just because it's able to give me more clarity after I'm done writing, of course. Now we separate these to pattern 1 and 2, which are the chords and the bass. So now we are going to add some top loops for this. There's one that I really like in the Fox Stevenson pack, which I'm going to grab now. And there's also some cymatics ones that I think are really cool. We might layer them together. Here we go. Let's throw that in and listen to what we got. We're getting somewhere now. So what I'm noticing, this section right now, it sounds pretty good, but it needs something kind of wet happening over top to give it extra just depth, I suppose. So we are going to go back to our layer with the chords, just so I can see those notes, add a new instance of Serum, and I'm going to see what I can create, maybe like a sine pluck or something like that. So turn that up an octave or so, lower the decay so that way it's more like this. And we are going to drown that in reverb once we get a melody going. Something like that, just a very quick sound. Okay, so now I have a bit of an idea for a drop, but we're going to try to create a very short little build-up just to kind of get us there in a way that makes sense. I am going to grab a snare. The way I'm going to do this, we're just going to put this just like that all the way through this second half, and we're going to pitch it up as it goes, so that way it gets a little more intense. So this sounds very static right now, but that's okay. We're going to fix that by doing some pitching up. So we just set that to like 24 for 2 octaves, and we are going to create an automation point by right-clicking on it and select and create automation, and right here we are going to draw in that modulation. So start it at the same value it's at, 50, and then by the end, when it gets to here, it's going to go up all the way like that. So let me show you what that does. Right. So that's what we got going on there. We're going to stop the hats when that happens, and it's going to go... Okay, we are ready to do a drop. Now, how I would make a drop in a track like this is probably not traditional for a house track. Usually, when I think of like a house tutorial on YouTube, I think of a really big kind of drop. This is not going to be that, just going to let you know now. Instead, I'm thinking more of like an anti-drop. So the way I would do that is have the same bass line, because it's a really cool tone actually, like that. And we're just going to get some kicks and claps over that. And as well, we are going to do some really strange melody, I guess, that's just kind of plucky but huge with reverb to fill up a lot of space. And it'll be minimal, but the thing with a minimal track that's actually really hard to do is make it sound full and complete. Now we need to come up with a melody. So that's something I'm going to do in the bass pattern right now. Just going to get a little preset I made that is literally just some signs that I've changed a bit. Yeah, here it is. It's basically the same way I made that bass sound, to be honest with you, except we're playing it up here now. See, it's got a lot of reverb. So we're going to put that on mixer and get to work. So very simple melody, but you see how it's very broken up like that. I think this might sound cool. Let's hear it. Yeah, I quite like that. So with some layering, this might sound really nice. And now we're going to duplicate that melody for the second half, play it an octave down. I do this quite a lot in my tracks. I enjoy getting some variation out of the lead by doing that. And I think this sound in particular is going to be really cool when you pitch it down. So let's see. Yeah. to throw some Soothe on it as well. If you don't have Soothe, it's a really great plugin. It's a dynamic resonance suppressor. This is something that, like, say you have a sound that has a really harsh frequency, Soothe will get rid of it in real time, even if it moves. Like, it's dynamic like that. It could go in between different notes. I'll show you what it does. If I hit delta here, this will show me what it's removing from that sound specifically. Right? Just some piercing frequencies if we turn that up. Just like that. Can we uncheck that? It's a great plugin. Highly recommend it. But anyways, we could go ahead and listen to this once we get some drums in, and we'll have the beginning of our little anti-drop thing that we're doing here. So I'm going to build out some drums now. This is missing Sidechain. Gonna very quickly explain how I'd go about doing that. We're gonna rename an empty channel to Sidechain. I'm just gonna make a bus and put all of the musical elements that need it on this channel just to save some CPU and time. I've actually got a template set up, but if you don't have that, the way you follow along is you would take an instance of your kick drum, duplicate it and make it unique, and shorten it so it's as short as it could possibly be. That's actually what I have up here. And from there, you would just put it wherever your kick does go on your track. Now, I am doing a very short explanation of this. I do actually have an in-depth video of how to sidechain like this that goes over every step in detail. Highly recommend you check it out. Okay, so now that we have the kick trigger, I've put that on its own mixer channel. Again, that's part of my template. We right-click on wherever we're sidechaining to and hit sidechain to this track. I know that menu actually won't show up on the video because of the way I'm recording this. I did realize that after my video went up last time. Sorry about that. But basically, you just right-click on that. You'll get a little text box you can select. And then we open up Pro MB. So we want to go into the gear settings here, processing, stereo sidechains, and we're going to split this up into two bands here. I'm going to do the bass and then the rest of it. For the second bit, we want crazier hats. So I'm going to go down to my samples. I've got another one that I want to add in here. This one. We have to change the stretching of it because it's in 126 and this track is in 124. So do this. There it is. I want to try something. I don't know if this is going to work. If it is in the video, I'm going to imagine it did work, so we'll find out now. If I duplicate this one more time, and of course we're going to leave the hats in for that, I'm curious if this element from earlier in our track would sound good. I think it will work, we just gotta sidechain it, like that. Yeah, that works. So for the second half of the drop, we are gonna add in some strings. Good way to get some variation. I like how strings sound in second half specifically. We're gonna put in our chords that we drew out earlier, and then change some voicings to make them even bigger. If you see notes that go up against one another, like in different chords, try to extend them, because then you get a more, like, full one-piece kind of sound, which I think is nice compared to the very start-stoppy kind of tone that you get now when you load it up and it's divided like that. So we are going to put this one up. I think that would be nice. Yes. Okay, this is sounding really good. This is exactly how I would go about starting a house track. I hope this video has helped you out. I'm going to play it in full. That is my process on how I'd start this from scratch. If you want a part 2 where we work on this track some more and flesh it out, let me know in the comments below. I also do have some other tutorials up on how to make drum and bass, and another one on how to make future drum and bass. I think those are really helpful. Be sure to check them out, and I hope that they're of use to you. Thank you for watching, drop a like, and subscribe if you did enjoy, and I'll see you in the next one.